Joining us now for analysis of that hearing is Dave Brat, a former U.S. congressman, economist, and dean of the School of Business at Liberty University. So, Dave, when we look back at what happened on Thursday night, it was typically supposed to be a foreign policy debate, as the third debate typically is. But last night, we didn't get too much foreign policy. Are you disappointed to see that?
Yeah, no, I'm hugely disappointed. If you just go through the basic metrics, right? Third grade catechism class or eighth grade civics. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece today how the Vatican is making arrangements with China, and they're overlooking the human rights abuses, right, of China, the Vatican, the Pope. And so the Pope is, liberation theology, all this kind of thing. And we got 70 million Catholics who have to make a decision coming up. And that decision, you would think, would be based on the idea that the Democrat platform rejected all God language 12 years ago. There's no mention of God in the Democratic platform. And so people say, well, what's that got to do with everything? Well, China is an atheistic regime run by the CCP. We love the Chinese people. 1.4 billion people created in the image of God, being repressed by a totalitarian regime. They have re-education camps for the Uyghur Muslims, 1 million to 2 million in concentration camps out in the west of China. The Vatican is nowhere to be found. Joe Biden's nowhere to be found. And if 70 million Catholics can't do the math on this, we're hurting, right? That's the beginning of Western Civ. And then the Protestants, we got 100 million folks, and they need to get their head on straight and do the basic math. When it comes to foreign policy, Joe Biden is the CCP candidate. Even my Republicans, just to be fair, they all cannot wait to get back to doing business with the billionaire class in China, because China has probably substantial growth coming up still, even after the COVID period.
Right. And
so, yeah, foreign policy, and I'm abstracting from the Hunter Biden case, which is just obvious. The evidence is front and center, like you've been saying.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And especially, too, when it comes to China, I mean, that is an issue, whether we're talking about the coronavirus pandemic, whether we're talking about trade imbalances, whether we're talking about Uyghur Muslims being in, I'll call them re-education camps and be courteous, but yeah. And many people have called them things far worse. When we talk about China, it does have an effect on the American people, too. I mean, the American people, you could argue, put President Trump into office in 2016 based on his economic views of how he would take on China. But I think last night we also did get an immigration debate, which once again I also think does tie into an economic debate as well. I mean, President Trump in 2016 said, I'm going to look out for the American people and their economic interests by trying to increase wages by decreasing illegal immigration. Do you think that has been absent from this campaign cycle?
Yeah, I'm really amazed at that, right? The nation state, the Treaty of Westphalia emerged back in 1650. It designed the nation state system we have today and the modern order. The West, we beat Hitler and Japan in World War II and set up the Bretton Woods liberal order, which has been a peaceful settlement for the last 50 years and created tremendous wealth, right? The Judeo-Christian tradition in the West made friends with our arch enemies, right? The German Nazi regime, the Japanese who attacked us, we made friends with them. And so on foreign policy, it's very simple, but the Chinese are now the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And Joe Biden has a clear relationship with them. President Trump is the first president in 40 years that's come in hard against them. They declared war against us in 1999. Everyone can go Google it. It's public information. PDF file called Unrestricted Warfare by 2 Chinese colonels. They declared war, information war, economic war against the United States in 1999. And they mentioned attacks on the World Trade Centers in 1999. And just one quick little footnote, too. It's very fascinating. Hillary Clinton used the Ukraine information against Biden back in 2015. People have forgotten that. Hillary and Bill took out Biden when he wanted to run for president against Hillary. They took his knees out, and the Ukraine information alone was enough to take out Biden. And so, boy, how things have changed. Now it's not enough. People don't even blush anymore. There's no moral conscience left in the world. We need it.
No, I think that's a very good point to bring up because, for example, I think it was back in 2010, the New York Times ran an article saying that Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings are problematic for the administration. We know that President Barack Obama was voicing similar concerns behind the scenes as well. And in fact, when we look back to the primary and we see that President Obama was so unwilling to some degree to endorse Joe Biden, you have to start wondering, did he know about this stuff back then? Did he perhaps know that this stuff was going on? Because otherwise, why would he not endorse his former vice president and his so-called best friend? It really makes you wonder. But Dave Brat, I really appreciate you coming on the program tonight, breaking down what we saw last night. Thank you.
You bet. Hey, thanks for having me. You bet.